On this podcast, we talk often about life, loss, and what truly matters. And part of that is taking care of the life we've been given. Did you know that cardiovascular disease and stroke are two of the leading causes of death in the U.S.? Yet 80% of these can actually be prevented. That's why I've partnered with Lifeline Screening. They offer a package of 4 quick, painless screenings for just $159. It's one appointment at one of over 14,000 locations across the country. No needles, no hospital gowns, no hassle. Just simple tests that can bring peace of mind or provide early detection. Lifeline Screening has already screened more than 10 million people, so don't wait. A simple screening can change the rest of your life. Click the link in my show description to schedule your appointment today. And now for today's episode. Welcome back to the Grief Observed podcast. I'm your host, Brad Morrell, and if you would like to join me for an episode, you can find me on Facebook at facebook.com/Grief Observed podcast. You can find me on TikTok as well under the same name, or you can send me an email at griefobservedpodcast@gmail.com. I'd love to have you on the show to speak about your grief, and especially if you're a professional or someone that's in the grief field, please reach out. I'd love to have you come on and share your knowledge with the world. My guest today is Cait Medugno, and she is from the Growing Up Grieving podcast. And she also has a TikTok page where I found her and her cousin Alyssa. And I think they're doing great things out there in the grief world. So I wanted to bring Cait on and just kind of pick her brain and speak about her life and her thoughts on grief. So, Cait, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much. I'm really excited to talk to you, Brad. It's
Yeah,
uh
this,
it's nice to always meet someone you connect with online, and that's how I've met a lot of people too for the podcast. So,
yeah. Yeah, it's really cool. There's plenty of room for people to help in the grief world. Like
mhm.
grief is the one thing that's never going to stop. And whenever you have a particular business or something, you kind of you feel like you want to corner the world and corner the market, I guess, so to speak. But grief is so broad, and um, there's just so many different areas of grief. Like, I can never speak on uh, the loss of certain things.
Mm,
Right now I still have, I say all of my parents because I have 4. Okay. Um, and they're all here, so I truly don't know what it is to lose a parent yet.
right.
I can speak fluently on the loss of a best friend, but maybe I didn't lose your best friend. So it's,
Yeah,
there's a different flavor for everyone out in the grief world. So,
I would agree with that. I would
yeah.
definitely agree with that. Yeah.
Why don't you tell the listeners a little bit more about you?
Yeah. So I'm Cait Medugno. I live in Massachusetts. Born and raised. My parents were from here. And I've lost both my parents. And that's what made me want to start this podcast. Um, I grew up with chronically ill parents, my mother mostly. She was sick before I was even born.
Hmm.
So dealing with medical issues in the family is something that I just grew up with hand in hand, like it was just normal to me. Terrifying and years of anticipatory grief.
Hmm.
But I mean, that's just how it was. I've known loss from a very young age. One of my first memories ever was my uncle passing away. I was 4.
Oh, wow.
And we were all there. And then I've lost all my grandparents, my aunts. In the past decade, I think it's been like 10 people who have passed, including my parents. Uh, so it's a lot. I've grown up grieving. Do you get it?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I
Very
really relate to
appropriate
that.
title.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, when you think
definitely.
about loss, especially starting at age 4, like
Mm,
that's when kids are building sand castles and climbing up trees and
for
skinning their
sure.
knees. It's not something that um, I don't know. Of course, loss is something that none of us want to experience, but age 4, wow, that's a huge life lesson to start learning at age
It
4.
is. Yeah, I don't think I really even understood it back then. But I
Sure.
honestly through doing the podcast and going through therapy for my grief, um, I've really just realized that it's been this lifelong theme of mine, honestly. And I relate to it so much. It's so, I don't know, it's like a part of me.
Yeah.
When I turned to this and started posting about it and just doing the podcast in general, I just realized that there's just it's so true to who I am. And I think
Mm.
it's just because I've just always lived with it like that. I've lost a lot of people over the years. And so yeah, I don't know. It's a lot. It's a lot for anyone.
Well,
But
I speak to a lot of people about identity. I love speaking about identity because I think most of us go a lifetime without really knowing who we are.
yeah.
I've never heard anyone say I was called to grieve, but but I feel like there's some elements of truth there that I can at least make meaning from the grief that I've experienced and help others. And I think that may be where the calling's at, right?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. My I kind of relate in a way to my dad. He was an alcoholic, although I didn't know him like that. He was sober since I was 1 year old, so I never got to see him like that. But it wasn't until like honestly a couple of years before he even died that I knew that he was still going to AA and that he sponsored other people. So
Wow.
he was having all these conversations. He's always a confidant, and my mother as well, for a lot of our other cousins and just different people over the years. So in a weird way, I kind of relate my, podcasting and talking to other people about this, as something that brings me close to him in a way.
Mm.
And it's like almost carrying on a torch of some kind. Um, so I don't know. I like having the conversations with people, and I just feel like it was something that he would have done, I guess. He was supposed to be
Yeah.
my first guest actually on the podcast.
Oh,
We were going to talk about my mom, but then he got sick with esophageal cancer and was gone within a few months. So yeah, life happens and death happens a lot.
it
A
does.
lot.
It
Yeah.
does. I think one of the most sobering things, and I may have spoken about it on the last episode as well, but one of the things that I think was my wake up moment recently when I was walking my dog. I know I did a TikTok on this, but I was thinking, the older I get, the more funerals I attend,
Mm.
and the more funerals I attend, the less that's going to be at my funeral. Like
Yeah.
that was just like this big wake up call. Like life just continues and the more you live, the more you see death.
Yep.
And it's I think even before we started the podcast I shared that I'm 50 this year and in 50 years of life, at least the parts that I remember, like I think TV has even changed. The things
Yeah.
that we see, um, it's like I don't know.
Well,
I
everything on TV is about death
it
when you think
is.
about it.
Like when's the last time you saw a feel good story on TV? Like they used
Yeah.
to end the news that way. Like, and tonight we've got a kid giving out candy at a local nursing home or what,
Oh
and
yeah.
everybody's just like, oh, such a warming story. And now it's just like, stay tuned for more death, right?
Yeah. It really is.
It's
Yeah.
horrible.
Yeah. I mean, my husband and I just watched, I think it was like that new Predator movie.
Okay.
And I know it's not right, but think of it like, and I was like, this guy is grieving. I said it to my husband. He like went on this quest, this weird alien guy, because his brother wouldn't murder him in front of his dad, which is totally weird, but like it was a movie. But then he was like on this quest because he was grieving. He loved his brother, and I'm like, he's grieving. Look at him, he's grieving. So even aliens grieve, Brad. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, it is. It's definitely everywhere.
It is interesting, and the deeper you go into the grief world, the more you start seeing it pop out in movies. You're like, oh, that
Yeah.
person, what they're going through, that's grief. Like,
Hmm.
you talked about anticipatory grief at the beginning,
Yeah.
and that's a grief that I think is very underplayed and misunderstood in a lot of ways. That the body may be there, but maybe the mind's gone, or
Yeah.
maybe you see just the person that used to be laying there and they're not mom or dad or grandpa or
Yeah. They're
whoever
somehow
anymore.
missing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So I feel like my eye is more keen whenever I'm watching movies and things like that,
Mm,
and it's just, just like you stated, oh, that guy's grieving right there,
yeah.
even if it's not explicitly stated.
Oh yeah,
So
and no, obviously it wasn't like an alien movie, but I picked up, of course I did too. I picked it right up on it.
now,
You
one
know.
thing I have got to mention, I don't know, maybe I need to do a video on this too, but um, I have, I don't know, most people have not seen the new Dracula movie because it doesn't come out till February, but it's been out in Europe for over a year now.
Okay.
And I've always
I have not
been
seen it.
I've been a fan of I don't know, vampires like a lot of my life. It's been an interesting story. I like the Dracula story, but
Yeah.
I sit there and think, okay, I've seen all these women on TikTok going like, "Oh, that's true love right there. That the way he loves her." And I'm like, he's like draining them of their blood. Like,
Yeah. He's
and I'm sitting
using
there
them.
thinking from a grief standpoint that wow, all these people have died, and there's others like, what a wonderful love story. And although it is kind of a love story, if you've ever read the book or seen like maybe the old Bram Stoker's Dracula from the 90s with Keanu Reeves, it
Mhm.
is kind of a love story, but it's kind of a twisted love
It's a
story.
twisted, yeah, yeah. But you're right. Like we wouldn't pick up on the love part. We would pick up on the
The
death and
grief.
the
Yeah.
grief and the bad, the abuse, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure we are trailing way off, and that is my fault. But
Oh,
here we go.
I'm down. Yeah. No worries. Right up my alley.
Yeah. Why don't
Yeah.
we take a little bit of time? Drastic turn here, but why don't we
Sure.
take a little bit of time to honor your mom and dad? And I'd love to hear more about their story and how it integrated into your life, and then obviously how grief plays a part into who you are.
Sure. Yeah, definitely. I'll start with my mom. So I said in the beginning that I've only ever known her as being sickly. And so she was, I have two older sisters. After my older sister was born, the second one, my mother had her tubes tied because she was starting to have some kidney problems and just, waning health. So she had her tubes tied. And then 4 years later, she got pregnant with me. Randomly. My mother always called me a miracle. Very nice mom.
There you go.
Yeah, but I was always like, I was a mistake, you know. Um, and so I just grew up knowing that she was sick. When I was 7, both of my mother's parents, my grandparents, passed away within a month from each other. And so,
Say that
and
again.
yeah, so my mother's parents passed away in the 90s, a month apart from each other.
So I want to
So my
drop something
grandparents.
in real quick
Drop it.
because that was one of my best TikTok videos ever. Is whenever I was speaking about how it is so common for a couple to pass away within the same year or within a year of each other,
Yeah.
a lot because of broken heart syndrome, which is a real thing medically. And
Yeah, they were sick, but I think that had something to do with it as well. You know what I
yeah,
mean? I think my grampy had stomach cancer, and my
mm,
nana, I believe, I know she had a stroke for sure because I remember her having a stroke and having a hard time talking and everything. But I think she had something else as well. But they passed away when my mom was 38, and so my mom became an orphan basically when she was 38, and I did too, actually. My dad passed away when I was 38.
wow.
So it's like I don't know. I'm especially in the grieving world, I'm very big on signs and like synchronicities and stuff like that. So I kind of picked up on that. But I remember when she lost her parents, again, I was 7. But that was she was so close to them and she just adored them. And it was I often say like I feel like I started grieving because I saw my mom grieving and I knew what that was like, I guess. Like I don't know. The first time I ever really absorbed somebody else's grief, I feel I'm very empathetic, and I think it's obviously from how I grew up. But that was a lot. So in high school, like over the years, my mother had 2 kidney transplants.
Wow.
So the first one was in the 90s, and it was my Aunt Carol who gave her kidney. So my mom's sister, one of my mother's sisters. And then about 10 years later, that kidney failed, which is actually really common. I don't know if you know anything about
Yeah.
that, but
Yeah.
it's super common that they're just good for like a little bit. So approximately 10 years or so later, my Aunt Carol's son, Tim, my mom's nephew, gave her the second one. So she got the gift of life twice, which is amazing. I'm always like huge on organ donation and everything because I just think it's like absolutely beautiful. But that was a lot. And like in high school, my mother also had open heart surgery, and she bled out and died for like 3 minutes on the table and everything. And I'm like just trying to be a junior in high school and hang out with my friends. And like during my graduation a year later, I can't remember if she had another kidney thing then, but it was there's so many like different crises I feel like I grew up with that in a way it's like I couldn't deal with it all, you know? But she almost couldn't come to my graduation, which
Mm.
is, you know,
It's an
a
important day.
yeah, it was a big day for me, but she did make it. But you know, the issue was, and people don't think about this, oh, well, can my mom attend my graduation? Like, is there a bathroom there? Because that was the problem. Is there a
Mm.
bathroom? Like, she couldn't control certain things, you know?
Sure.
So yeah, that was a lot to grow up with. And in retrospect as well, or I guess to add rather, my one of my sisters has been diabetic since she was like 7 or 8. So she had that. She also has Kawasaki disease, which is something with her heart. And my dad got type 2 diabetes when I was a child too. So we had two diabetics in the house, and we had my mom who, you know, so we're always at the hospitals and everything, thus the fear that I still have to this day
Mm.
of going to a hospital, or even for my own like physical. I just had that. And my doctor's doing my blood pressure, and she's like, it's high. I'm like, it's because I'm here. You know this.
Yes, white coat
And then,
syndrome.
oh
I'm
yeah. Then she
guilty.
checked it. Yeah, so bad, so bad. And then she checked it like 20 minutes later after we had been talking. She's like, you're fine, you're fine. And I'm like, I know I'm fine. But but it still like drives me crazy, you know? Um, and so I don't know, growing up, I just kind of had all those little different things going on with my mom. And there's been countless other like medical scares with my mom over the years. And so that's why I think I really relate to the anticipatory grief, because
Mm.
I just always knew something is happening. Like, is this it? Like, I don't know, like all the time, you know. She got a call one day. She had to have a blood transfusion, and or it was like a week later or something. The lab called, and they're like, we need you to do additional testing or something because one of your donors may have had no, may have been exposed to mad cow disease.
Oh,
Like,
wow.
what? Are you? She wasn't. Like, she didn't have that, thank God. But we're like, this is the luck she had. One time she got out of the hospital, walking up the stairs to get back into her apartment, trips and falls, breaks her friggin' wrist.
Wow.
It's like, yeah. So, and you know, uh, so many stories like that. I can't even think of them all. She just had the worst luck. I would always say like, and my mom was such a very like those are all the bad parts, but my mom was such a light spirit. She was hysterical. She could have been on SNL or Carol Burnett show or something, you know. She was a hot shit. I always say she was just so fun and loving, and all of those things that happened to her and all of her medical problems, she was still that person. So I don't know how she did it. I'm always praying because like I'm a mom now, and I'm always like, my God, will you please just like give me some of your like I don't know, your strength or your
Yeah.
laughter or something. Um, so yeah, that's pretty much my mom.
Can I pause you there?
Yeah, oh
Because
please, yeah.
you've thrown so many darts at the
I
board,
know
and
I have. Sorry.
no, like good stuff that I wanna. I'm taking notes over here, and a
Sure.
couple of things that can I don't know, they're just swirling around in my mind,
Go
and
ahead.
my ADHD, I will lose them if I don't. Number one, write them down, and number two,
Same.
speak them out now.
Sure.
I
I
will
hear you.
flip this page and it'll never be spoken. And I think there's something that you stated that I don't know that I've ever thought about, at least on this podcast, and probably not thought about it in years anyway. But you said I would imagine it's your um, cousin Tim.
Yeah.
It was her nephew that donated the
Yep.
organ.
Hmm.
So I'm sitting there thinking, did Tim attend your mother's funeral?
Oh God, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, my
So
Tim looked at my mother as if she were his own, and my mom, my his mother, my Aunt Carol, is still very much in our well, she passed away within a couple of years ago as well, but they always had a special connection.
so I have I don't know if you've seen, but I've done a lot of studies on DNA and epigenetics and things like that, which I want to bring into some of the stuff that you've shared. I don't know if you've seen any of those videos or not, but I'm sitting there thinking, okay, Tim donated his kidney to your mom.
Hmm.
And when he is mourning your mother, there's a part of his own life that has been lost and is being buried in that moment. Was your mother
Yeah.
buried or
She was
cremated?
buried, yeah.
Okay.
And the interesting thing about kidney transplants as well is that they just keep the dying kidney in you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So she had like, I don't know, four kidneys in there, I guess, because you have two, and then she had one from Carol and then one from Tim. I don't know.
Oh,
So
okay. No, I didn't know. I figured they would replace the one that had died. So the dead one's in
it
there
could
as
be
well,
different
or
now. I mean, obviously,
okay.
like the way that they do everything is different. This was in the 90s and then in the early 2000s, so I'm sure they do it differently now or something.
Yeah, everything in the
But they
90s was better
but I
though.
remember her saying like, yeah, it's still in there. Oh, I know. Yeah, it's still this kidney's still in there. So just hanging out. But yeah, it is interesting because, you
Yeah, I've
know,
I've seen a video. There was a girl who had maybe a cancer or something, and she had to have her arm removed. And her video's out there on TikTok. It's really interesting,
wow.
but she like literally they have her dead arm on I don't know, I can't remember what it was on, but she's basically saying goodbye to her dead limb.
Like a
And
funeral. I've
yes,
seen people, okay, I've seen videos of people doing kind of things like that for limbs in different situations. Yeah.
yeah,
It
I
is
don't know.
interesting.
My thought was like, did Tim and now knowing that other people in the family, whoever donated kidneys, like a part of them has truly died.
Yeah,
It was living as long as your mother was living.
right.
That is that.
Yeah, that is a weird way to think about it, but it's true. Yeah,
Yeah.
it is
Uh, I've
interesting.
got to do some more thinking on that one.
Yeah.
You also mentioned mad cow disease, and that does not come up very often. But I'll state back in my dating days before my wife now, I was, I don't know, I'll say talking with a girl who was an embalmer, and
Oh
I
wow.
was like, it was in my high school years, I wanted to be an embalmer,
Okay.
and but I told her, I said, yeah, I wanted to do this at one time, blah, blah, blah. And I said, but I'm kind of a little bit OCD and disease and stuff like that. And I'm like, there's like the AIDS thing. And, it was big
Mm.
back then. And she's like, "Pfft, AIDS, forget that. Like, that's nothing. Mad cow disease, that's something. She was talking about, I think it's CJV, or Jacobson, Creutzfeldt Jacobson's disease. I forget. I think it's
Hmm.
CJG that kind of comes from mad cow disease. And I looked it up, and in Tennessee, they can bury, like they can embalm those people, but there's some states that's direct burial because it is so contagious, and
Yeah, it's like very, very contagious. Yeah, exactly.
so I
That's
sit there
that's
and
that's
think
what I know
about,
about it.
yeah, yeah, like, and even if someone is embalmed in Tennessee with that, they have to throw away every tool that they use. They had to
Wow.
put around like flowers around the casket so nobody got close enough to it. Like
Wow.
it's that big of a deal. And but I sit there and think about how that would have affected your grieving differently. And I know that's kind of a big what if because it didn't happen, but
Yeah, yeah.
it's
No, but I mean, I think that when because I was faced with just so much of that, just dealing with my mom and or dad or my sister or whoever was sick or whatever was going on, you can't help but think of those awful scenarios. And we were faced with so many. It was like it was almost like a running joke, like I said, that we were like, really, of course she has that, like not even
Right.
phased. We're like, oh, great, what now, and because it just always used to happen that way. So thankfully she didn't, but you can't help but go there and think of all of the horrible things that could transpire, in addition to what you're dealing with.
Yeah, I want to pin fear and anxiety and save that for later, but in my own mind, it's almost like you should have been desensitized by everything. Like you said, it's like, oh, what next? What else are you going
Oh
to hit me
yeah.
with?
Mm-hmm.
But as time would have it, more loss occurs, right?
Yeah.
So let's
Yeah.
talk a little bit about the life of your dad.
Yeah. So my dad, he grew up right down the street from where I'm at right now. And I don't, my dad was quite literally a genius. Well, I don't know, he took some test or whatever. He was a genius, dude. Very, very smart man. He used to, for his job, well, he was in Vietnam. And over there, he was a lab technician and he used to do autopsies. So he was telling me actually, um, before he passed, when he was doing chemo, about all of the vets that were like drug addicts. There was just so many people addicted to everything over there. So he did so many drug tests and urine tests and different things over there. But so he kind of had that background. He worked in a lab with his dad for a while, and then he ended up being working for a company where he developed some more like lab software. And so he would write the code. He taught himself DOS and like how to like, use that. So we didn't have much growing up, but we always had a computer. We were like one of the first people on the street to have a computer and a printer and everything is because of his job. And
There's probably a lot of people saying DOS. Is that an iPhone app?
oh my God, I know, I know. This is the old code, folks, to write computer programs. Yeah, and I don't even understand it, but he was just brilliant in that aspect. He was also an excellent pool player. He used to be in tournaments and he grew up in the pool halls downtown, actually used to, you know, swindle a lot of folks out of money because they didn't think, that he was any good, but he was great. He was great. And yeah, so he was also really dry humor, my dad. So my mom was really warm and funny, and my dad was too, but he was just more of a dry kind of humor guy. But he was always when I was growing up, working. He worked in our living room, and in hindsight, I work from home now, and for the past like 6 years, I've worked from home, and I I feel so bad, Dad. I'm so sorry. Like we used to come in and just bother him all
Mm,
anytime and from his perspective, he was the only source of income pretty much for our house because my mom, she could work little like jobs here and there or whatever, but she was usually just too sick to she was definitely too sick to hold a full-time job. So it was all on my dad. So he had a lot of the responsibility, like financial responsibility and everything. Um, but it wasn't until after my mom passed away in 2017 that my dad even decided, hey, maybe I should go to the doctor. So it was like Christmas Eve one year after she passed, maybe 2021 or something like that. And he had a stroke. So after she passed, he had a stroke, he had bladder cancer, and then he got the esophageal cancer.
wow.
And he went to the rehab for stroke and everything. Like it was his whole left side. Um, and he did this all, after my mom was gone. So it was my sisters and I were trying to help him, and my aunt helped too, and for different things. But it's just kind of weird that he, kind of waited to deal with all that stuff until she was gone. But it was a big relief for him when my mom passed. He loved her. They were madly in love. Thank God. It was beautiful that I could grow up like that. But man, like he was in financial debt because of my mother and all of her medical bills over the years. Like, and for the first time ever after she passed, like he had a clean slate. And he also came around a lot more, like my relationship and my sisters and our, nieces and nephews and whoever, right? Um, we all got to see a different side of him. And he used to say that he was trying to be like mom, like, oh, well, she would come to this little party or whatever, so I'm gonna go.
Hmm.
So it really changed him in different ways for the better, I think. Um, but yeah, it's just interesting that he dealt with all of that after she was gone.
It is
I don't think
interesting.
he had time.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
couldn't do it before.
Have you ever read The Grieving Brain or The Grieving Body by Mary Frances O'Connor?
No,
Okay. And
no.
she was one of my uh f- she was a guest, I don't know, probably about halfway back in my podcast list and phenomenal books. But in let's see which one is it? I think it's in The Grieving Body, which was her second book. I like The Grieving Brain better. I will state that. But still, Grieving Body, great book. And she addresses her own issues with MS. And
Oh,
she states, okay, her mother's death did not cause her MS, but it could be the catalyst for at least putting it as a marker like, oh my gosh, this may have been going on in my body for a while, but I didn't notice it. And
yeah,
grief kind of activates at least the knowledge of health issues sometimes.
yeah,
So, like you're stating, your dad, so to speak, held on for some of his health issues until your mom
yeah.
was gone. In a lot of ways, he probably had to be strong just to deal with, her health issues, and
Oh, yeah,
that was his goal was, taking care of her and keeping things going. And then when that's no longer there or that's settled, um, certainly it makes way for his health issues or did.
yeah.
And
And
I don't know.
he was afraid of her passing away for decades as well. So, I think he told me once, or no, actually, I think it was a poem. He used to write poetry like back in the day, and he was writing about like rolling over in the middle of the night, just putting his hand on her just to
Hmm.
make sure she was breathing.
Wow.
Because it's like you just don't know, or like whatever's going on with her or whatever. So I relate to that too, like I'm fearful of just everybody in my life just dying. I said
Sure.
on my podcast once, my mom's dead now, but I'm still afraid she's gonna die. Like, is she gonna die? I'm still like,
Oh,
is she gonna
yeah.
die? Like, what's going on? But like, nope, nope. It'll be 9 years. Excuse me, this year that she's gone, and I don't know. It's those kind of things just stay with you, I think, or they have with me at least.
Well, and I'm going to take us down a different path, Kate,
Let's go.
because, yeah, one of the things that I've been researching a lot is DNA, blood, bone, flesh, like what happens and what do we carry and what do we give away to others.
Mm.
And so epigenetics is what we used to refer to as junk DNA. We didn't know what it was. We're just like, yeah, it doesn't matter. But that's not true. So when you're talking about like your fears and your anxieties, um, there's some proof of why they may not be yours and why certain things stay activated in your body that unfortunately were passed on maybe from
Mm.
previous generations. So like when you state I'm stuck and it's like I there's something in me that just keeps thinking, is she gonna die? Is she gonna die? And she's been dead for 9 years.
Yeah.
Your brain is trained. Now, could it be trained from all the loss that you've already gone through in your life? Yeah, that's very, very
Yeah.
possible. But when I look at my own anxiety, um, I have started picking around the family tree quite a bit, and I look at my maternal grandfather, and he was crushed in a rock crusher from the waist down, and
Oh,
they didn't expect him to live for 4 hours, and he made it. But then
wow.
he had to deal with my grandmother, not deal with, that sounds horrible. He had to take care of my grandmother who had a brain tumor for 12 years.
Oh, wow.
The man was institutionalized a couple of times to mental health reasons. And it's like, well, obviously, like
Yeah, like I
that's a
can see
lot.
why. Yeah.
But I sit there and think that, whenever I started having horrible panic attacks, whenever I was in the Navy, I didn't know why. It's like life was good. I was living it up. I was doing the sailor stuff. And boom, like out of nowhere, I started having panic attacks. And I mean, I'm like, I feel like I'm going to die. Like I'm
Mm.
scared to death that I'm going to die. And, back then I probably just, I don't know. Everybody's just like, it's just anxiety. And, my dad, my mom, it's just anxiety. You'll get over it. You'll get through it, blah, blah, blah. But now that I'm looking at this epigenetics thing, it's like, what if these thoughts, and a lot of people may push back when I state this right here and now, but what if these thoughts are not truly my thoughts? Like when you look at
Yeah.
epigenetics, it is like light switches, and depending on things that's going on with certain DNA strands, they're either strangled or released. And so it's like turning on or off a light switch. So if
Sure.
your family is very, very prone to, say, anxiety issues, it very easily can pass down to you. Now, here's the crazy thing, and I have mentioned this on a couple of podcasts recently and maybe a couple of TikToks, but when your mother was in her mother's womb, five
Mm.
months, 5 months into being baked, you and all your sisters were there with her, like the eggs of your sister. Your mom had
Yeah.
every egg that she ever had. So it's easy for us to think about any traumas that were experienced during that time
Yeah.
period of your grandmother could easily pass down into you.
Yeah.
And we've seen that the epigenetics of up to 5 generations in humans have been passed down. In animals, it's up to 10. Crazy scientific stuff, but I just sit there and think the fears that you experience. Now, you and
Mm.
I have kindred spirits because I hate going to the VA to do my medical checks and stuff. Like my blood pressure is, I don't want to say always, but generally a lot higher. At
Yeah.
at the house, I'm comatose. Like it's like,
Yep.
dude, do you have a
Exactly.
pulse?
So it's like 60. Like, am I alive? I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yep.
But where did these medical fears come from in my life? Where did they come from in your life?
Mm.
So I encourage people to kind of pick back through the family tree, and a lot of what's neat about I'll say afterlife. Like I hate to say what's neat about death, but truly, we start discovering things about the people that have passed away, things that we would have never known had they still been alive. Have you
Yeah.
discovered anything cool about your mom or dad since they passed away?
Um, since they've passed, I don't think so.
Okay,
But I will say that, because my dad was an AA and he was like a sponsor, like that was something that I remember he was telling me at like a 99 restaurant once after his stroke or whatever, or he had been doing better. And I was like, "What? What are you talking about that
wow,
you're a mentor?" And one of the people that he actually or a sponsor, not a well, mentor as well, but he was,
sure,
sponsored, came to his funeral and was just saying like how much he had helped, like saved him and helped him and everything. And to me, that was just like, what? Like, what are you talking? I don't ever remember him leaving, like knowing that he was leaving the house when growing up, going to a meeting. Never knew, never knew. And I don't know, like why he would hide that because I don't think it's bad. Like I think that's great. I think that's
yeah,
wonderful that like you're not only taking care of yourself, but like you're also like helping other people. That's beautiful. So I think that was probably alarming to me. But that was something I discovered, I mean, toward the end of his life for sure. But I just remember thinking like I'm the youngest of three girls, so my sisters and the family, they always call me Baby Cait. I'm like, I'm gonna be 40. I'm not a baby, but they still call me Baby Cait. So that I've kind of had to deal with that kind of mentality as well. I'm like, am I shielded? Did you shield me? And then I get mad about it. I'm like, don't shield me, like I'm a big girl. I can deal with this stuff. And actually, kind of going into like a separate segue here, but like when my dad got sick, when my mom was sick, I was too young. Like I was a kid, even in high school. Like I'm not old enough to really understand what's happening or to like help you, I guess. I don't know, right? But when my dad got sick at the end when he had to go to his treatments and everything with his esophageal cancer. He had radiation and chemo. I was like, Dad, like I'm not a baby anymore. Like I'm literally an adult. I'm married. I have kids. Like I can help you with this. And like, please let me help you. And it was like this weird agreement we had that like I helped him. I would drive him to his appointments and I was there for like for the first time ever. I could like be there like
Hmm.
I don't know, with intention, I guess. So I don't know, kind of went off on that, but it reminded me of that.
Yeah, yeah, and I
Yeah.
sit here and think, my daughter's almost 24, and
Okay.
I sit there and think of if I were sick, I know she would want to help like that.
Yeah.
She's an RN, like she
Oh,
should be able to
wow.
help like that. So
Amazing.
yeah, but there's part maybe of a father's heart that just says, you know, you'll always be my baby girl, right?
Yeah.
Like that's so it's hard for me to even imagine my daughter taking care of me,
Yeah.
and I'm, as far as I know, in good health, and
Right.
I don't
Yeah.
know. I think it's not a pride thing. It's just more of a change of vision that we don't want. That would be my
Yeah.
thought as a father.
Oh, yeah. I mean, well, even, after his stroke, obviously that's very like, I mean, he couldn't use his whole left side, like for a while. And he was so mad. He was just so mad he couldn't do things that he could do before because he just felt like inept, which I would feel too. I'm like, Dad, I get it. Like, I remember one time he had a lot of misdirected anger in Target one day because we were there and I was there with my little girls and him and he's trying to get through and it's like truck day, so there's crap everywhere, like in the aisles, and he can't move his body the way he wants, and then he can't get the carriage around, so he's yelling at the people in the store, and I'm just like, oh my God. I'm like, Dad, like, get it together, man. Like, he's
Yeah.
like, they're in my way. And I'm like, that's not why you're mad. I'm like, you're mad because you can't move around the way that you want to. And he's like, well, maybe you're right. And I'm like, I am right. But like, you know, um, so yeah, I don't know. That kind of plays into it too.
Well, it is, and even though this podcast normally focuses on physical loss, I think in grief, that's one thing that's very, very discounted as well is the loss of what we used to be able to do.
Oh
So
yeah.
when our body starts changing, you and I talked about that. I'm 50 now and I feel pretty good, but knees, hips, ankles, like
Yeah.
back. I mean, it just keeps climbing up,
Yeah.
uh, but I think about I hate this term, but I'll use it with some of my clients, but this may be your new norm. I hate that.
Yeah.
Like I
Yeah.
can't run anymore. I can ride a bike, but my knees, they just can't take, the hitting on the pavement like it used to.
Yeah.
So that is a loss. That is
It is.
grief, that I want to like that was my way of decompressing after a long day at work previously. Like I'll come home, I'll run a mile and a half, maybe 3 miles, and I feel like $1 million. Can't do
Mm.
that anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. And it makes you mad. It can make you mad, you
It
know.
does. It does. Because
Anger is definitely present in grief.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let me make a transition here because I definitely want to plug your podcast and I want to hear more about it. Like
Yeah.
tell the listeners about like what at what point did you state, yeah, I need to share my voice. I need to share my stories. I need to help others through their own grieving process.
Yeah. Like looking back, it sounds so noble of me to start a podcast to talk about, grief and to help others, but it was really selfish why I started at first. And it was just to be able to figure out how do I articulate what is happening to me? How can I talk about the death of my mother without crying hysterically? And I went to therapy like 3 years for that. And I would say somewhere along the first year, I realized that it was just such a big problem of mine, like my grief. It was affecting my marriage. It was just affecting everything that I was like, well, I have to do something about this. And we talked about the gift of gab earlier. Like, I love to talk. I'm a Gemini. I love to talk to anybody. I love to learn new things. ADHD in there as well. I'm like, what? So,
Yes.
I don't know. Somewhere along the way, I realized, okay, like I really need to figure out how to talk about this. And when my dad started to get sick, And I had mentioned that, he was going to be my first guest. I was like, I don't know. I just thought of a podcast. Everybody's doing podcasting now. I'm like, I could do that. I'm always like, I could do that. I can paint, I can draw, I can do anything. And I was like, I can definitely do that. And I am doing it. But my God, is it hard, Brad?
It
But
has its
it's hard.
challenges.
It's
Yeah.
hard, yeah. But I started off basically, so to put it into perspective, my dad passed on Christmas Day in 2023.
Hmm.
And it was like 2 weeks later in like January, I don't know, 5th, 6th, 7th, I don't even know. And I was like, I am going to I started my Instagram page for Growing Up Grieving podcast. And I have almost 600 posts on there since I started.
Wow.
And it started off by me kind of vlogging in a way.
Yeah.
I think the first video I ever did, I don't know, I was compelled to just videotape going to see my the gravesite after my dad's funeral, and I
Mm.
still had my makeup on from the wake and everything in it, like it was like a few days later, and I don't know, just kind of capturing the raw of it. And it 6 months later, I actually started doing the actual podcast and recording and, got the equipment and all this stuff. And I started with my family. And like season one is obviously, I think season one of any podcast it's got its challenges. It's for learning, right?
Well, I've
um,
never cashed over into season two yet. I don't know, like,
I love no, well, you keep going. I have like I'm crazy. I feel like I work full time, the kids are always into stuff, so I'm like, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna my goal, and I don't usually finish things. I do now, but like at the time I was like, I don't usually finish things. I think I did like 12 episodes or 14 the first season. And so I started off with like people I know, and even my sisters, they came on, and one of the episodes we talked about like the whole night that my mom died. Another episode we talked about the whole time, like the night that my dad died. And different things in here and there. I had like a medium on, I had some guests on, and kind of like a mix of things. Kind of just feeling it out really, and just seeing where it takes me. And I met some really amazing people, and it was just awesome. It was just so cool. And then so season two, along the growing up grieving theme, because I really feel like grief evolves, and that's a lot into like what it really means as well. It's yes, I felt like I was growing up grieving, but I have evolved. My grief has evolved, and things are changing. So season two, I was like, I want to have a friend with me. I don't want to do this alone. I did some solo episodes in season one, two, and everything, and just to try it all out. And so I asked my cousin, Alyssa. Um, she's just a couple years older than me, and we got to unpack her grief in season two, and things I didn't even think of because she was young too. She also really resonated with the concept of growing up grieving, because her older brother passed. I think she was 1 years old when he passed away. And so she really grew up. She calls it growing up in the shadow of grief, you know.
mm,
And so it was weird because as cousins we were really close as kids, and then kind of like a little farther apart, but now we're like thick as thieves again. And we have this like newfound like grief connection, which I didn't really relate to her. She's just always been a great cheerleader, and she's like, I can do that. And well, yes, let's talk. And she really had a lot to bring to the table too. So it's a really fun dynamic with her. And we talked to different guests and everything too. And we're getting ready to do season three, which will probably come out in the summer again. I feel like it's every summer I start. I can't do it continuously, Brad.
well,
Um, but we're doing something different for season three. We're gonna be playing the grief game. We're gonna be playing a game, bringing fun into grief. I know it sounds so weird, but that's really where a lot of you see I make little funny videos online and stupid things, and that's really me. And so to be able to have it's almost like a different way to disarm people, which is why we made this little game that we're gonna do to make it like a conversation game, make it easy for people to share, and I don't know, kind of laugh a little bit too, because that's
well,
that's a big part of it.
I think that's the thing that's very, very much discounted in grief too, is that it's okay to laugh. When you go into a funeral home and you see lots of people laughing and it's like, okay, there's a person there that's laying there and
Oh
their
yeah.
life is ended, but all these
I'm one of
people
those
are
people
laughing.
laughing though. It's funny
Yeah.
because and I feel like that I relate to, well, okay, so my two grandparents that we talked about, that passed away when I was young, they lived on top of a funeral home before they passed. And Alyssa's mom, was just had her funeral there. She's coming up on the 2 year mark, the end of the month, by the way, and our other aunt as well. So when we went there, it was like it was weird because I related that to my childhood being in this funeral home. And I've always just felt so comfortable at funeral homes. I'm very comfortable at cemeteries too. And so I'm the family that's cackling away and joking and laughing at a funeral. And yeah, we've had some looks before, but we've never done it disrespectfully or like when someone's talking or like during something, but or even in a hospital, we're the laughing family too. It's like, yeah, my mom's half dead right here, but we're gonna crack a joke, and that's how we that's how we got through it. So I like to bring laughter into things. It's inherently me, but it's also, I don't know, it's just how we deal with it. And it's funny to like laugh at yourself. And I think grief, obviously, it's not funny to lose people that we love, right? That's not the funny part. But all the stupid things that happen after, or remembering different things here and there, like
Yes.
that's the stuff that is like hysterical to me. So I like to pick up on those things. And
Yeah, I
um
recall one of the, I don't know, I'm trying to think of when it was. I think I was about 14, and my cousin is super close to me. We are 6 weeks apart,
oh
and
wow.
we went to school together. We still like he sent me a text last night. Let's go eat. We're still very, very close. Um, but one of our first times in a funeral home, he and I decided to do some self-exploration at 14 years old. It's like,
Ooh,
okay, this really sucks because like we're here, we got to be here like for hours with the family, and this
yeah.
this is just so yeah, we were out there in the garage with the hearse. We almost went into the embalming area. Like we
Ooh,
were, yeah, like we were all over the place. And I'm thinking, what was our parents thinking? Like we were not the two right candidates to let loose in a funeral home at age 14, you know?
yeah. I can
But
see how that could get a little hairy.
yeah, yeah. But I just sit here and think how fun it is for you to do a podcast with your cousin and what a blessing that is because I would love to do a podcast with my cousin, but I don't know what we would do it on. It would not be grief, and it would keep people in stitches. We are the family comedians.
Oh
So
yeah. Oh
yeah,
good. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um
It's really great being with her, and we laugh so much. And excuse me, sometimes we'll just record and we just look at each other. We're like, what the hell are we even saying? Like, what is going on? We're just absolutely like unhinged. I think it makes it more fun for me to have somebody else to do it with.
yeah.
But
Yeah, I
yeah,
think it is. Grieving with people seems to be a lot better than grieving alone, you know.
yeah.
And you're definitely helping lots of people with your podcast. I am curious what dictates a season because if I started season with, let's say, episode 117 after you, people would be like, that was a long season. I
That
don't
would
think
be,
I can
I
do a
don't think
season
you,
now.
I think you're past the point of seasons. The reason though, the reason I even did it like that though was again because I said I don't finish things, right? So I was like, I have a goal. I need to make this many, and then like I'm gonna take a break because it was
Mm,
all consuming for me. And because I do a lot of the social media stuff too. I mean, I take time out of my day every day to think about grief.
mm.
And it helps me. And sometimes I get a little wrapped into it and I'm like, nope, nope, like the life is for the living. Like, focus on the people who are here now. Um, but I don't know. It helps to share and
Yeah.
talk about community and just meeting people. Like I have people that have reached out to me that grew up with ill parents too, and they really relate to that. And it's in a way, it's just nice to kind of find like your people amongst this, like the many people that are out there.
Yeah.
Um, Because you always think, oh, I'm the only one who feels this way. And it's like, no, you're absolutely not. You just have
Yeah,
to find the people who actually like get you or can relate, you know?
right.
Yeah.
You mentioned therapy a couple of times in this episode, and
Yep.
I'm curious, enlighten me as not only a grief therapist, but just I see people for everything under the sun.
Yeah.
But what was the most helpful thing for you that maybe your therapist said, or the most helpful thing that you learned in therapy?
Um, well, in therapy is where I realized that grief was like this looming cloud. I never we did one of those exercises where kind of like, all right, like like a pie chart, like, all right, fill it in. Who are you?
Hmm,
And I was kind of amongst that too, like when my mom passed, I kind of just went into this crisis mode, like who am I? Like after years of being sad, I was like, who am I? What's going on? I really need to live with intention and all these things. And I kind of like hashed that out in therapy and realized that grief was like a problem. So I would say like I had an aha moment there about it. Um, and I just think being intentional with your time was probably one of the biggest things, just to work on yourself and to honestly check in with yourself and say, how do I feel today? Or why am I being such a beast today?
yeah,
Oh, it's because this or whatever. So one of the things I did learn in therapy, though, related to grief was just to prepare, like on the heavy days, or like I know an anniversary is coming up. Well, instead of like thinking of it and being like, oh, I don't have time to think about that, I'd be like, okay, no, like take 5 minutes and actually think about it and see how you feel this year or whatever. Um, to continually check in on myself and see how I feel about something. Because when you look at things, like I feel different about like my mother's death now than I did like when she first passed. And
sure.
again, I never would have been able to even talk about it at all. So the fact
Hmm.
that I'm like out here like here I am world, here's my grief and here's all the crazy crap that goes with it. It was huge and I learned it in there. And I did go to therapy when I was in high school because again, my mom had the heart surgery and the secondary kidney transplant and everything. And my mom was like, "You need to talk to someone," because I would just be like, "Okay, I'm leaving the house. I'm just leaving." As a kid, I was like, "I'm just going to my friend's house. I wanted to be away from it." But we talked about it there too, and it's where I just realized like you just have to actually physically speak. For me, it's like actually physically speaking it the words out loud. A lot of times I talk to my parents. I'm just walking around my house and I'm just talking to their ghosts or whatever, and I believe that they can hear me. And I feel like the act of speaking actually, I don't know, it's powerful. It's really powerful and it's healing. I think it's healing.
Yeah, I think we have to speak and we definitely have to keep telling their stories and
Yeah.
I think that's how we continue to get better and certainly how we um I think we mirror that to people, that I can get through this, you can too.
Hmm.
You're in a stuck place, but let me be your hope.
Yeah.
I think that's what I want people to learn from me. And there are losses in life that I've not experienced yet. And if time has its way, I will. And that'll be
Yeah.
hard. You talk about being you said the youngest of three, is that right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I'm the middle of three.
Oh, okay.
And, that was something else that I thought about recently. And I did a TikTok video and it was so sobering. I did it at the beginning of this year and I said, one sibling will be at both funerals. One sibling, will be the last to die and
Yeah.
nobody will be at their funeral. And that is just like
Yeah, it's like a
heartbreaking.
gut punch. Yeah, I really think of my mom and her sisters when you say that because my mom was one of four and she was the youngest and she was the first who passed. And
Yeah.
then in 2022, my Aunt Linda passed, and then in 2023, my Aunt Carol and Diane passed. So they like very recently all the aunts are just gone. Like
Wow.
they're wiped out, like that's what we say. We're like, how did this happen like so fast? So 2023, I lost my dad and two aunts, and then again the year before, I lost another aunt, and And actually, last year, my brother-in-law passed away, Mark. He had biliary cancer. So, so much loss, but it is an interesting thing. And I, I know it's like you think of the future and you just pray and hope that like you're gonna get a long time with the people who are left.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah. I know you've learned life is precious, life is short.
Mm.
But I'm going to hit you with the hardest question that I love to ask my guests.
Oh, great.
And you kind of danced around it a little bit with asking who am I?
Mm.
But what do you want to be known for when you pass?
Ooh, I want to be known for being kind
Hmm.
and being funny.
Yeah, I
And
think you've got that
being
one.
like a good time and I always try to see the good in things always, like glasses half full, even though I fully see that the the empty part is like looming, I don't know, I always live in the gray, and I just want people to be good to each other. Like I see somebody hurting and I'm like that person, or if somebody's rude or mean or whatever just out in the world, I'm like, well, they're like, I take the time to think, what made them that way?
Yeah,
What demons
yeah,
are they fighting? And so
yeah,
that's like how I always kind of think about people. Um, I try to not be so judgy. Um, we're all just fighting to live here and to, do anything in the world. So I don't know. I hope that people would think that I'm kind. I think that would probably be the biggest compliment. When people reach out to me, too, with about grief, people just reach out to you. You must know this, right? Even people who aren't
mm,
like at your practice or whatever, like people just come to me, and I really it kind of warms my heart that like I can be that person for some people. And it's like I'm using my own tragedies to just I'm not even doing anything. I'm just talking about my own personal experience. So um yeah, I don't know, just be a kind person that was friendly and nice.
yeah, yeah. Well, I think you're well on your way.
Oh,
So,
well, thanks. That is a hard question. I don't know if I've
yeah,
ever thought about it like that, but
yeah, it is. And I don't know if my answer changes as I get older, but what was important to me 10 years ago versus what's important to me today is it's a huge difference.
I believe that. I believe that. And I'm big, and I'm very, very big proponent of changing your mind.
Yes,
I talk about that all the time. People are so stuck in their ways. It's like, why? Why are you holding on to whatever it is? Like, it's totally fine to change your mind and to reevaluate something, or, oh, I just learned this little nugget, so now I'm going to apply it to my life, and oh, now my perspective has changed. Like, that is evolution. That is what we should be doing, in my opinion, you know? So, um, yeah, I don't know. I just
yeah,
kind of went off on
and
that.
no, that's good. And
Yeah.
to go back to my epigenetics talk earlier, it's like,
Yes.
yeah, some of those switches may have been turned on, and I'm not going to sit here and cast blame forever on my family tree. I still have the responsibility and the ability to flip those switches off or on myself. Like I can
Yeah.
change, what has been handed down to me through, I'll say bad genetics. Like
Sure. Yeah.
I have the ability to change that. And, just like the anxiety thing, I can be consumed by it. I can state,
Hmm.
yep, this was handed to me and this is just the way it's got to be. Or
Yep.
I can state, okay, I'll go to therapy. I'll do the things. I'll read the books. I'll do breathing, I'll do grounding exercises, whatever it is that,
Yep.
you know, to fight against and to flip that switch off or on, depending on what the trait is.
Yeah.
Um, we all have a responsibility to change, and our brains are certainly flexible, they're malleable. It's things can change. So
Yeah. I
I
believe
don't know.
that. And along the lines too about the epigenetics, I feel like isn't that just like learning from your ancestors too, like how to survive? Isn't that like just
It
the
is.
basic instincts of humanity? Like you're gonna want to pass down to your kin of like, oh yeah, like don't go near that bear, like different things, right? I feel like
Exactly.
that's got to be those feelings of must be somewhere in there, be like because we want to every generation. I look at my kids, I'm like, okay, you have to be better than me. No
Right.
pressure, no pressure,
Right.
but but you have to be better than me because like it's important to learn these different things and carry it on. Um
Cait,
Yeah.
it sounds like you and I both came from a very long line of hunters or something, right? They were fully activated and anxiety, like,
Something.
you know,
Definitely something. Yeah.
anxiety is not a bad thing. Like there's certain
No.
times in life where you need it activated for
Hmm.
survival purposes, but when it comes when you're not expecting it, that's when it's just like it
Yeah.
can be debilitating.
Well, you
So,
have to recognize like your own triggers and know yourself. And
right.
that was a part of it too that got activated when my mom passed. Like just
Mm,
figuring out who I was, and that was a part of it. Like, okay, who am I? What are my quirks and like why am I that way? But if you don't ever think about that, you'll never change it
that's
because
right.
you're not aware of it, you know? Yeah.
Well, Cait, I know we're at time. It sounds like we're going to have to do an episode 2 in our future. Maybe that'll be
Yeah.
in my season 2 when I'm on like,
Ooh, you're never gonna have a season two. You're just
no,
gonna have
I'm
a big
not.
long season one. I like it. No, it's good. It's good. Hey, it works for you. We're all different.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
And that's like I stated, there's a flavor for everyone out here in the grief world. So, but I do want to leave you
Definitely.
with any final words that you want to leave with our listeners.
Oh my goodness, such pressure. No, just if you're into an almost 40-year-old's perspective on parent loss and grief and humor and I don't know, just a lot of like griefy perspective, then I'm your girl. And you can get through it. You can get through it. It's lifelong, my opinion. I will always have these feelings and I will always miss my people, but like you can live a meaningful life still. You just have to learn how to integrate it into your life,
Yeah.
you know?
Awesome. Cait, thanks for being here. I appreciate you.
Thank you for having me, Brad.
Yeah. And listeners, thanks for tuning in. Please go check out uh, Cait's podcast and Alyssa's as well. I don't want to forget her. So just go check out Growing Up Grieving podcast, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Have a great day, everyone.